Why are we so often fixated on all of the relationships outside of ourselves, be it with other people, with money, with our body, or any of these other areas of life, when really and truly there is only one relationship that truly matters, and that is the one with ourself. Because when we are able to nurture and nourish that relationship with self, and anchor back into our inherent worthiness and come back to self for the source of love and all of our needs, then that naturally ripples and reflects out in all of our other relationships, be it with other people or with money or our body. So it's so ironic that we try to fixate on the things outside of ourselves when really, when we come back to the root, that in itself will influence all of those other dynamics, and really whatever's going on in those other dynamics are just reflections and echoes of something to do with our relationship with self, or some beliefs that we're holding, or something that we can be invited to explore further. So if this is the case, why are we always going to those others instead of going back to that root and really holding space for self? And often it's rooted in our sense of worthiness, that we almost don't see ourselves as worthy and important enough to nurture that relationship. There's always other things that feel more important, and we're less of a priority, or we don't feel that we can give ourselves that time. Maybe there's a narrative or a story around that being selfish or taken away from others, which again is so ironic, because when we are able to do that, we naturally then are able to give more to others, and it really does influence and help everybody involved. It's in everybody's greatest good for us to be giving to ourselves first, filling our own cup first. So if that challenge is truly rooted in these perceived lack of worthiness or something to do with our sense of self, then how can we hold space to really explore what is at the root of all of that? How we can begin untangling where we get our sense of worthiness, so that we can come back to that relationship with self, which ultimately will help all of these other dynamics. And what I encourage you to do, and what I've been doing for myself and the clients that I work with, because this is such a common theme, this lack of worthiness, so maybe you're already sensing that and this is something you're already on a path of working on. But what I invite people to hold space for is to see what that sense of worthiness is currently attached to. So both on the outside and inside. So externally, looking at where we attach conditions to our worthiness. So whether that's validation from other people, or what we're achieving and doing, or what our life looks like, whether we are only able to give ourselves permission to feel worthiness from those external factors, or intrinsically what is going on in terms of attaching stories or meanings to worthiness. Maybe again it's a need for doing something or not doing something, or feeling like we need to earn it or get to a certain milestone. So for myself, I realised my self-love was very dependent and conditional on how well I was doing, and it was only when I was able to really see that, to see how I was pinching myself off from giving that self-love and feeling worthy if I wasn't doing all of these things, and I really saw how conditional it had become. And when I saw it, I couldn't then unsee it. So really holding space to kind of spotlight these entanglements and attachments, whether it's internal or external, because that will then pave the way for continuing to see them and introducing a moment of pause to see whether those attachments or maybe beliefs are truly serving you or not. And it's not about trying to kind of force a big change, but it does enable us to begin gently detaching from them and not being so lost and caught up in that needing to be the way of being. So awareness and spotlighting and really exploring this is a really good first point to see where we are currently getting our sense of worthiness from and where we can gently begin to release some of that. The other thing that can be incredibly powerful is coming back to our body-based wisdom and holding space for our intuition to guide us on the most optimal path for coming back to that inherent worthiness. So naturally, when we are shedding all that we are not, so whether that's illusions or old beliefs or habits, conditioned ways of thinking and being, whether that's from society, upbringing, when we are able to shed more of that, we're able to come back to our truth, which is our inherent worthiness. And we're also able to often more easily hear and feel guidance from our intuition and our innate wisdom. And often if the intention is to come back to that inherent worthiness, or whatever your intention is, that is often a beautiful invite for your intuition to begin guiding you and paving the way to whatever tool, process, insight, idea will best serve you in that moment as a bit of a permission slip to come back to that worthiness. It's not that you need any of these, but often these are gateways and pathways to access that or allow you to go to that in the most perfectly aligned way for you. So those are two kind of initial foundation steps that I really invite and encourage. So bringing in that awareness and spotlighting and doing some inquiry to see where your current beliefs are and your sense of worthiness is currently coming from. Is it truly coming inherently, or is it attached or conditional? But then also holding space for your intuition and innate wisdom to begin guiding you. And that can obviously be easier when you're being more present and coming back to the body more, and noticing if there are times when you're disassociating or not being in the body, as again that is a great invitation to just come back to some awareness and begin pausing. The other thing that can, just as a kind of final invitation, is to feel into if you truly deep down knew, believed, truly embodied that you were inherently worthy and deserving, how would you be feeling and being and showing up in the world? Because that often just brings clarity as to firstly how that will feel, so you can become familiar with that feeling of really feeling in every cell of your body, and what beliefs come from that place and what thoughts and feelings are generated from there, that new state of being. But also it will very quickly highlight if and when you're not in that space and where that gap is. Because often when we're focused on when we're not and we're kind of stay too long in those weeds, and we're almost reactivating the thing that we're trying to shed. So as much as the shedding is important, we don't want to stay there forever. And this is why there's phases that I kind of touch on in my blue blueprint that naturally move you through these different phases of kind of shedding, releasing, coming back to the body, coming back to intuition, and all that's unfolding. And it's a beautiful cycle so that you're not kind of stuck in one phase and also not forcing yourself into a different phase. But going back to kind of not staying there too long, when you get clarity and feel into how you would be showing up in the world and how you'd be feeling and experiencing reality if you inherently knew you were worthy and deserving, it will very quickly show you the difference of where you are, but also give you the invite to begin embodying that now, regardless of conditions. And again, it's not about forcing, but it's about getting curious and feeling into how that would feel, so you can become more familiar, and over time shift into that just becoming your natural default way of being. And what can be so beautiful and expansive from that is really seeing what opens up in terms of your world and possibilities from that space. Because when we are feeling inherently worthy and deserving, and we're anchored and grounded in that, that naturally is then reflected out in all of these other dynamics and relationships that we have, be it with people, mind, body, health, wealth, whatever that is. And likewise, we can also use all of those other dynamics and relationships as kind of mirrors and points as to when we're not coming from that inherent worthiness, as an invite then to explore that or see what else might be there to integrate, or a lesson, or insight, or just an invitation to be and notice. So I invite you to feel into what has resonated from what I've shared here, and what invitations feel good for you, what you feel inspired to do. Everything is always an invitation, and I always encourage you to listen more so to what came up for you from within, as opposed to what I've said, because that will often be the key, the nugget, the thing that is going to be most helpful for you. And if you'd like to share what's come through or have any questions, please do leave a comment, or you're more than welcome to also get in touch. I am also, at the time of the release of this video, holding a free session to explore this theme in a bit more detail in my monthly free Seeds of Bloom session. So this session is on the first Wednesday of every month at 7:30 p.m. UK time. There's a different theme each month. So this month, September's theme is all around this sense of worthiness and coming back to that one relationship that truly matters. So we'll be exploring this in a bit more detail. So if you've watched this ahead, do join that if that resonates, but you're also welcome just to sign up for future ones, as it's monthly and completely free. I also hold space to move through this Bloom Blueprint that I mentioned in both a one-to-one and group coaching capacity, so do check out my links to find out more about that. It's a really potent and powerful way, yet gentle way, to kind of release, shed, come back to your truth, whether it's working with that worthiness piece or anything else that's alive for you, but really making the most of what is on offer at each of these natural phases that we do naturally move through if we're not resisting or fighting against it, and we're able to just get out of our own way. But anyway, I'll leave this here. I hope this has helped in some way, and also do feel free to share with anyone else you think would find it helpful, and do like and subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this as well. Sending so much love and gratitude for being here. Thank you for listening.